I'd like to thank you for joining us and for ending your week right here with us. We hope we uplift, give you some food for thought. My next guest is a local trailblazer here in Metro Detroit. She is passionate about her faith and the community she lives in. She's a wife. She's a mother of four. She homeschools, and she's the founder and president of Liberty Leaders Unite, which is a nonpartisan coalition of diverse individuals united behind a sacred purpose, defending liberty. And she and many others are taking part in an event tomorrow morning on Saturday, April 10th, called Jesus in the Public Square. Want to welcome to the show Lisha Kilgus. Lisha, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for having me on.
Well, and I thank you for being someone who's standing up for their values, for speaking the truth in love. How about this? For our liberties, for our freedoms that, Lisha, have been bought at a price in the United States of America, haven't they?
Amen. Yes, absolutely. You know, our freedoms are God-given, and we do need to stand up and fight. You know, united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah.
There's just way too much division that is out there right now, and we just need to unite.
I agree with that. And what's interesting is some of the people kind of on the progressive radical left side of the equation back in the last presidential election cycle were making us believe somehow, some way that they were going to bring the country together. They were going to unite us all. Unfortunately, a lot of those same individuals are the ones that are trying to continue the divisive language and the divisive tactics that have divided so many Americans. We'll get into that in just a moment, Lisha. But first of all, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to found the Liberty Leaders Unite.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So I was actually the director of in Michigan for the organization out in Colorado, FEC United, and I was the director for the state of Michigan for the past 2.5 years. And God just kept telling me, you need to do your own thing. You need to do your own thing. And so I've already been putting together initiatives and events across the state of Michigan, and now we are doing events and initiatives in the areas of faith, education, and combating human trafficking. And so God is just leading me. I'm listening and taking a step forward and obeying.
Wow. Well, I applaud you for that. I mean, that really does take a great deal of humility and obedience. But it's amazing how when we follow, Lisha, after what God is calling us to do, how others are inspired. And you all are doing that tomorrow morning at Bethel Baptist Church in Roseville for Jesus in the Public Square. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yes, so this is an event that's sponsored by Faith and Freedom Coalition and African American Voices Coalition. And this is an event where we are going to be talking about difficult topics. And we are going to be having a pastor's roundtable discussion. We're going to be talking about things like abortion, things like LGBTQ, things like Jesus in the public square, right? And it's all about biblical worldview and biblical truth. And we need to really focus on truth because, like you said, there's so many things that have been dividing us, and we need to unite. We need to all unite, and we all need to stand together.
Well, I think it's interesting, too, is that you're calling for this great discussion, all pastors, ministry leaders, Christian leaders, any concerned people in our great state of Michigan. So this could be very constructive, and the chances are you're going to have people that are going to vary on some matters. They're going to have differing opinions, but for the most part, all who understand that we are living in a time, Lisha, where our freedoms are being threatened like never before in this country. And if we don't take a stand right now for such a time as this, especially in this election year, those freedoms, America as we've known it, could slip away. So these are very, very critical moments, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, and I'll say this over and over, every single one of you has been created for a purpose, right? We all have gifts and talents, and if we use those gifts and talents to glorify Him, we can do amazing things together. And yes, our liberty, our freedom, I just had 2 events that I was just at for homeschool. You know, Representative Green was there, Representative Mike Harris, and we were talking about the fact that the state is trying to come after our freedoms. And it's not just homeschool. If they start with homeschool, they're going to come after every single freedom we have. So I think that everybody needs to be aware of all of the freedoms that they're coming after. So it's very important to be aware.
Well, let's talk about education, since you've obviously been an instigator there and taking matters into your own hands as a loving mother, as someone who's probably concerned with what's happening in public education and some of the indoctrination that we're seeing play out. You homeschool. Are the options in Michigan what they need to be for families who have conservative faith-based values?
In the public education?
All the above.
Sorry, I had to put that in there.
Right.
So the public education system has been indoctrinating and brainwashing kids for decades. And unfortunately, we did not start to wake up until, I would say, recently, right? With COVID, it really opened up a lot of eyes, and some people were aware, but it wasn't as in your face as it is today. So the education system is lacking. I don't know right off the top of my head the percentages of the people who graduate who are in school who cannot read and write, who they just push people through school. They indoctrinate them, they brainwash them. It's a particular agenda that they are following, and it's really unfortunate. And so we do not have the resources in the public schools. That's why so many people have left the public school system. In fact, they've gone to private schools and homeschooling. And, there's a big need for a focus on the education system. But I got to be honest, we need to abolish the Department of Education, start over, and we might get somewhere.
Well, and it hits close to home, Lisha, when you have, for example, you have this couple out in the Rockford Public School District who just happened to find out by mistake that their daughter was using pronouns. She wanted to, I guess, transition to a boy, that she was using a name that they were unaware of, and they ended up pulling her out of that public school, homeschooling her. And by the way, she's doing fine now, but she had gone through this little season or period where she was questioning her gender. It's not unusual for children, probably in that, and I'm trying to remember, it was grade school, what age she was, to maybe have some questions like this. But you and I know, having grown up in the, 60s, 70s, 80s, that, some of these are phases. You grow out of it, and gender dysphoria, as we understand it, really only applies to approximately 1%. But because of how it's being promoted and indoctrinated into the public schools, Lisha, so many young people, minors who have not matured, who do not understand these kinds of life-altering decisions, are being meant to feel or act or decide for these kinds of decisions that is very, very irresponsible. And thank God that you have these parents that have to have a lawsuit because they found out that the school district was doing something behind their back without their consent. And the principal basically said, look, I'm sorry, we're just following the school policy. Lisha, this has got to change.
It's got to stop. It's madness. And I'm so glad that these parents are willing to come forward and sue, right? They're in this lawsuit. And there's a lot of parents that things happen to, and I talk to them all the time, that they're afraid to come forward. And so I'm so thankful and grateful that they are coming forward and they're speaking out and they're saying this needs to stop. Because, now it actually starts in preschool with the indoctrination of the, confusion that they're putting into their heads. And I hear stories from teachers and people all the time that, I know tons of teachers that actually left the education profession, or they've moved over into something else because they cannot stand the indoctrination that is going on. It used to be CRT, now it's DEI and social emotional learning. Those are all the same.
And
so
they keep pushing the envelope. So just when you think, okay, well, we'll be kind of accepting of this approach, they push it even further because really I think their agenda, Lisha, is anti-God, anti-Christian, anti-family, anti-child, anti-American. They won't tell you that, but that's exactly what it is. We're going to continue our conversation with our guest, Lisha Kilgus, who is the founder and president of Liberty Leaders Unite. Lisha, among other leaders in the faith, are going to be participating in an event tomorrow in Roseville called Jesus in the Public Square. They want to have a great discussion about things to help better our communities, and they're calling all pastors, Christian leaders, and all concerned people in the great state of Michigan. It's going to be held Saturday, February 10th, that's tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Bethel Baptist Church in Roseville on Gratiot Avenue. You can learn more about what's going on at libertyleadersunite.org. You're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 103.5 The Light, Detroit made, Bible strong. And friends, I got some good news. We're doing this month, especially now, between Valentine's Day as an act of kindness to you. WMUZ is giving away a bag of the Great Lakes Roasting Company coffee beans to one of our listeners, and it is exceptional. It's their signature blend called Motor City, which they call an all-day cruiser. Got a cup of it right here. You're going to love it. And as our gift to you, all you need to do is be caller number one. So call us right now, and you too can enjoy Motor City Coffee at 313-838-1035, 313-838-1035. You're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 103.5 The Light. Detroit made, Bible strong. My guest today is Lisha Kilgus. She's the founder and president of Liberty Leaders Unite. Lisha and many other faith leaders will be part of Jesus in the Public Square Roundtable event, which is going to take place tomorrow at Bethel Baptist Church in Roseville from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll give out the website again in a moment. Lisha, your organization takes an active stand against all forms of human exploitation and oppression. You mentioned human trafficking earlier, and you believe no one is free when others are enslaved. What are some of the biggest issues of concerns for Michiganders right now, you think?
Well, their freedoms are being taken away, and it's only a matter of time before, like right now, there's a big push to take away homeschool freedoms, but there's only a matter of time. Look at COVID, what happened. They took away our freedoms to basically be in a church, to commune with one another. So I think that people just need to be aware of what's going on at the border. I think that people need to be aware. I mean, the illegal immigrants are all over, and unfortunately, there's a lot of trafficking going on at the border. And Michigan is in the top 5 when it comes to trafficking. Yeah. So it's a really sad and just horrendous situation that we're in the state of Michigan. So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say right now the legislature, it's 50-50, and then when May comes, when the new election happens in April, it's only a matter of time before they start pushing stuff through again.
Well, we've got to really watch this closely, Lisha, and I appreciate what you're saying about the southern border because there's no other way to describe it but an invasion. It's an invasion of the United States of America because these illegal migrants are not being vetted properly at all. We don't know who these people are, and they're not coming from just Latin America or Mexico or something like that. In a stand for freedom, bringing their family and their children. Many of them are military-age males. that are coming from the Middle East, are coming from China, are coming from Venezuela, are coming from all walks of life, right? From these different places. And now we're already seeing some of the effects of that, as we saw in the city of New York, where they're beating up New York City police officers. Lisha, it's any guess where this is going to go. But the American people are waking up. They're concerned. And now a lot of them are saying, what can I do? How can I get involved? How should I be active so that we don't see our country run amok and falling apart like this?
Yes. Well, there's great organizations. We are partnering and collaborating with some awesome organizations. Centurions of Michigan out of Lansing, they are doing stuff to combat human trafficking. And I actually, I spoke to a few people that I know who have visited the border. It's not just the southern border, by the way. It's also the border in Arizona. There's absolutely nothing being done. People are just coming over in droves, and it's really scary because, like you said, there's a lot of males that, who knows where they're coming from and what the agenda is. But we all need to be aware, and I got to be honest. I mean, this election coming up is one of the most important elections, and I am not going to get political, but I will say that we are focused on voting biblically.
Yes.
And that's what we need to continue to do, is continue to focus on. In fact, so with this series that we're doing with this event, we're going to be doing a series of these events. And at the end, we're going to be talking about voting biblically. And we are trying to really talk to pastors to say, you need to vote biblically. You need to tell your people to vote biblically. A lot of pastors do not want to join in the mix, right? They want to completely stay out of the discussion. And here's the thing. You need to, if you are a person of faith and you are a leader in the faith community, you need to stand up and you need to say, vote biblically, because that is the only way that we are going to make any changes.
Yeah, and I don't know that we ever had a luxury to just stand by the sideline and watch the parade go by and say, well, I'm not going to get involved in politics because it's too controversial. No, not when you see our freedoms being threatened the way they are, our freedoms of speech, our freedom of religion, our freedom of peaceful protest. I mean, we talk about examples on this show all the time. In addition to what we're seeing with human trafficking and the border invasion, you mentioned abortion earlier, Lisha, with Proposal 3 in the state of Michigan. God help us. We've got to make some changes here. I appreciate my friends at Right to Life of Michigan who are trying to really educate Michiganders and citizens of this great state that Proposal 3 isn't just protecting women's health care. Proposal 3 is so much more and worse.
Yes. Amen. It really is. And in Proposal 3, it's not just abortion. It's also, they can now transgender surgeries, right? I mean, all of that stuff is
without parental consent or informed consent. Yeah.
Correct.
And puberty blockers and the like, and pronouns and different names, just like we're seeing in Rockford. We need these precedents to set the stage. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just madness. I mean, it's like, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm really not surprised. And they're going to continue to go after every single freedom that we have. And they're trying to basically take parents, it's only a matter of time before they start taking kids away from their parents. Because
unbelievable.
They do not want parents to be in control of their children, because they can't control them if that happens. And that's why they're going after homeschooling. That's why they're going after all of these things that they can have control over. But let's be honest. The Constitution is something that we need to focus on, because they're trying to rewrite it, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to rewrite the Constitution, and we need to say that, no, these are our constitutional rights. We as parents should have full control over what our children do and say, and the government should not have any involvement in that.
Yeah, I mean, not only is it government overreach, but it is authoritarianism, it's totalitarianism to say that the state is the one that has the solutions and answers for your children, not the parents, that's insanity. And it smacks of what we saw some nearly 100 years ago in Nazi Germany. So it's important to wake up, people of faith. Wake up, faith leaders, of what's happening, because you don't want it to be said decades or 100 years from now, they could have, they knew, they didn't. So this is our opportunity, Lisha. And there's so many other issues out there. I think about the cancel culture and the censorship. Have you experienced that firsthand, where people are kind of trying to shut down your freedom of speech, your truth, because it varies from the progressive radical left?
Yes, I get shut down on Facebook and social media. I have reporters that basically twist words that I say. They come to my events and they try to, create a different perspective and where their agenda is heading. It's very unfortunate. So freedom of speech is definitely under attack. I would say that, even in my own community, people try to shut me down if I go to a school board meeting. They'll laugh, and it's like, you know what? You do have to be strong, because people are going to come after you. But here's the thing: we were created for a time such as this, and we, the people, need to take back the control. The
Amen.
Government should be at the bottom. We, the people, are at the top. So
Right.
We, the people, need to stand up. We need to wake more people up. And this is what I tell people. It's like, I meet with people, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican, whether they're Libertarian, Tea Party, right? It's like, I want to have discussions with these people. Like, I had an event down at the riverfront. It was taking back the rainbow from a biblical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And we're in agreement on that, right? Well, all of a sudden I say, hey, what do you think about what's going on in the schools? And they're just like, what? And I said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the schools. There's so many people that just are not aware, right? They watch the media. They completely believe that the school system is going to help their children. And a lot of them are waking up. And like you said, we need to wake up. We need to wake more people up. And I got to be honest, there's a lot of people who are sticking their heads in the sand because they don't want to see the truth. And that's unfortunate. So we just had to pray for those people. But we have to wake people up, and we need to stand, and we, the people, need to take this country back.
And a perfect example is Jesus in the Public Square. This event tomorrow, Saturday, February 10th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Bethel Baptist Church in Roseville. You're calling all pastors, Christian leaders, ministry leaders, all concerned people in the great state of Michigan to discuss all of these things and how we can better our communities. What do you hope to accomplish tomorrow, Lisha?
We are hoping that with each one of these series that we are going to be discussing stuff in the public square, a lot of topics that people are not okay with discussing out in public. And we are going to be trying to get pastors to agree to speaking about these things within their congregations and speaking to their own people. And so that's really the goal, because it's very, very important to have pastors on board, because they are leaders and people look up to them in order to give them the truth. And we need to focus on biblical worldview, biblical truth. And I also want to tell you that this event will be live streamed. So if people are too far away and they want to join us, they can actually go to our website and sign up to get the live stream,
which is libertyleadersunite.org.
Yes, and we also have a prayer text line. You can actually text in prayer requests or questions, and that is 1-833-560-0056. And we have actually some text prayer series that are periodically going on, and it's just a really great ministry.
Wonderful. Again, that number is 1-833-560-0056.
Yes.
Lisha Kilgus of Liberty Leaders Unite and the Jesus in the Public Square Roundtable tomorrow in Roseville, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Bethel Baptist Church. Thank you so much for what you're doing, Lisha, to rallying the cause, to informing the head in the sand voter. We all got to get on board, folks. We really, really do. And Lisha, thank you for leading the way.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for having me on, and I appreciate everything that you're doing because you are basically preaching the truth from, you have a very wide audience, and more people need to hear what it is that you're saying, the guests that you're bringing on. So thank you for your dedication and what you're doing to change the society and the climate to be more Bible-focused and biblical worldview-focused. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisha, and we look forward to having you back again. Lisha Kilgus of Liberty Leaders Unite. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
You're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 103.5 The Light, Detroit made, Bible strong.